Hey you and welcome. My name is Mike and in this old video, we're gonna look at the case of Jodi Parrack. Jodi was an 11-year-old girl who went missing in 2007 in the small town of Constantine. And when a cop suggested, hey, you know what, maybe we should look for her in the local graveyard. What do you think? Well, wouldn't she just be found there? And so, you can imagine he had to answer some hard questions. Questions he didn't have very good answers for. But, was he responsible for what happened? Let's take a look. It was on November 8, 2007 that 11-year-old Jodi Parrack went missing. She was a happy kid, loved singing, football, all that stuff. That day, she rode her bike to her friend's house after school. And when Jodi's older brother went over to that house to bring her home, as he always did, he was told she never showed. And as it started getting dark that night, Jodi's mother, Jo, started panicking, wondering where the hell young Jodi could be. Then an uncle of the friend Jodi was meant to visit, a reserve police officer named Raymond McCann, told Jodi's mother he'd help look for her around the sleepy village of Constantine, a small town of just over 2,000 people. Although relatively tiny, Constantine has a comparatively high crime rate, higher than 95% of US cities. And they needed to find Jodi. So Raymond McCann, Jodi's mother Jo, friends and family, they start wandering all around the town, driving, searching parks, schools, friends' houses, anywhere she could be. And as it goes on, the police get involved. Jo starts to fear the worst about what could have happened to Jodi. Then Raymond McCann says to Jo, hey, anybody check the local cemetery? Maybe there might be something there. Wink wink. No one had searched it yet. Jo arrived at the cemetery and saw Jodi's bike lying on the grass. Not good. And not far away they found Jodi's body lying on the ground. She was dead. It was determined that young Jodi had been sexually assaulted before being slowly smothered to death with a plastic bag over her head. Horrific, I think, is the word you're probably looking for. Jo, Jodi's mother, was then interrogated. See, police initially believed she had done something to her own daughter, which she hadn't. Then, after Jo was interrogated, Jo's other child, Darren, who would be Jodi's older brother, he was also brought in, questioned, and released. Eventually, though, the prime suspect becomes the one person who suggested they look in the exact place Jodi was found. Old Raymond McCann. How did he know she would be there? Why didn't he look in the cemetery himself? He was the one who suggested she could possibly be there, but he didn't look. He was swiftly brought in. Now, none of his DNA was found on Jodi's body, and he had a pretty good alibi, actually. For Jodi, for when Jodi was taken, he was at home with his family, so pretty solid. But the police thought they had their guy, as did a hell of a lot of people in the town of Constantine. Months went by, years went by with nothing to show for it. Jodi Parrack's case remained unsolved.
November 8th, 2007. It was a crisp morning, the kind that tells you fall is here and winter's closing in. The relative quiet of Constantine in St. Joseph County was interrupted by squads of police and CSI vans, all converged on the village cemetery. That's where they found the body of 11-year-old Jodi Parrack. 3 years later, the village police chief says not a day goes by that he's now working the case.
Unfortunately, it's not much further than it was in the beginning. It's sad. It's an 11-year-old girl. And I won't stop working in this thing until it's solved. I'm not going to make it a cold case.
Until Michigan State Police were brought in, and when they rock up, they immediately zone in on Raymond McCann. Who else? Raymond McCann to be him. Raymond McCann, and is.
So you're in here voluntarily, obviously. You wouldn't have shown up if you didn't want to come in here voluntarily, right? Because I'm not going to go out and pick you up and drag you. So, and I know you've been talked to several times, and this shouldn't take too long because you're going to tell me the truth. You got nothing to hide, correct?
Correct.
Well, I realize it's been 3 years ago, but it was turns out to be a big day in your life, as well as a lot of other people. And it's a day that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. What did you say about the cemetery?
I said, when we were down there, I said, okay, let's go check the cemetery. You know.
Why did you say that?
Because we checked everywhere else. You know. And so I said, okay, let's go check there. So when he asked me, you going straight there? I go, no, I got to go talk to Don.
Why didn't you just go check the cemetery?
Then, I don't know. You have to ask Donker that. We were driving around, I go, kind of like, we didn't know the night was going to end up that way, but kind of joked around because it was just after Halloween. I go, let's go check the cemetery. I can't even remember what I said. I got a bad feeling or whatever. But we didn't go in there, and that's one thing I never got to talk to Donker. Why didn't we? Why didn't we go check it? You know?
Of course, you're like any other guy. You have interest in women. 40-year-old, and that's not all bad. I'd rather see you have interest in women than guys. What about young girls like Jodi?
No.
No? And whether you did it or not, I really have a feeling you know more than what you're telling us.
And apparently there's some people that have some bad feelings about you related to this case. I'm sure.
The fact that he mentioned to look for her in the cemetery a few times, never actually did himself, and wouldn't you know it, she would actually be found there.
I have to tell you about your rights.
Okay.
Okay? You
I'm
understand?
not going to jail, am I?
I told you you're not going to go to jail. The bullshit has to end today.
Okay.
The only possible way that I can go to bat for you is if you tell me the truth. Listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. The evidence has come full circle, and there is a part of your story, a big part of your story, that is bullshit.
Like what? Can you tell me?
First of all, what we're going to do, like I told you before, you don't know how embarrassed I am from my co-workers right now, because all I've done the whole time is say that you're a fucking good dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm the laughing stock of this whole place right now.
Oh.
The only possible way that I can still have save some face in this thing is for there to be an explanation for the lies that you've been caught in now.
Okay, keep going.
I need you to tell me again what you did during the day before you came home from work.
I was home?
That is not true, Ray.
What do you mean that's not true? I was home playing PlayStation and dicking around the
That
house.
is not true, buddy.
How? Okay, where was I supposed to be then?
I know exactly where you are.
Well, tell me then.
No, you also know where you are. That's the problem. Okay, I'm not going to put words into your mouth. We have the whole case prepared. We have everything out there. Everything is there, and your stuff is wrong.
I'm not trying to be rude to you at all, Brian. I know you work. Home. I don't know where else was I supposed to be.
I don't know where else you were supposed to be either, but I know that you weren't home.
I don't think I went anywhere, Brian. I don't think I. I wish I knew.
What do you think? What do you think is the worst thing about this whole case?
Shit, I'm getting blamed for. I guess. I mean, God damn, I did my job. At least I thought I did. Is someone trying to suck me up? I am not going to jail for somebody else's shit. I wish I knew who did it. Do anything wrong.
The biggest thing that will get you where you need to be with yourself in your life is the truth. The problem is, I know for 100%, 2,000% that your story is wrong. We know scientifically that you touched her body.
Did.
And we know without a doubt that you put her in that cemetery.
Oh, God, Brian, no, I did not. No, I did not.
That doesn't make you the killer, Ray.
I know, but you know what? I did not put her there. If I touched her at all, it was when I was pulling my mother away. If I happened to touch her, then that's how it happened.
Listen to me. I need you to hear me clear. I don't bullshit anybody. I don't lie. I tell the truth. And there is absolutely no doubt that you put her there. Again, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, because that's just my nature. This case has already been reviewed by the prosecutor's office, and the evidence about you is insurmountable.
Okay.
I don't know if you think that you're the greatest person in the world, liar-wise or whatever, but I'm here to tell you that if you don't reach for some help right now, that rope is going to get pulled in. And
I understand it, but I'm admitting to something I didn't do.
His protests of innocence fell on deaf ears. The police were 1000% convinced he had something to do with what happened to Jodi. However, after exhaustive interviews spanning months, the detectives pushing and pushing, they eventually had to let him go. They had no evidence, really, other than their suspicions he had done something to Jodi. And further years went by. Investigators had more than 1,500 tips and interviewed more than 1,000 people, but no arrests. And the case gets cold. Ice cold, dead cold. However, Jodi's mother, Jo, kept the pressure up, begging and begging the police not to give up. Searching for what happened to Jodi, putting pressure on them to not shelve the case of what happened to Jodi Parrack and who was responsible for this horrific act. Raymond lost his position as a reserve officer. His wife divorced him. Suspicion and accusations had raised doubts, and the town and Raymond's own family even turned against him. Even though he wasn't legally convicted, he sure as shit was in the court of public opinion. What a scumbag, walking around town free after he murdered that innocent young girl. Killer.
So in regards to your statements to us, to the police and to other police officers, your statements, I need to ask you, are they true?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay, to the best of your knowledge?
That's my knowledge.
Okay. I know you're involved in this, okay? That's why I'm trying to help you, all right? You have a choice in your process. We have video of you during the day. We have other evidence. I'm not going to give it to y'all, okay? But now I'm going to say to you, you might want to reconsider how the day went, okay? I'm telling you, okay? It's not, you can't deny it anymore. The issue is why. That's the issue. And the only person that can fill that in is you, all right?
I didn't have nothing to do with this girl's death.
Listen, don't say that, because I don't want to hear it, okay? Trust me, I know different.
I don't know what you guys are getting to.
Why don't you just get to it instead of trying?
I don't know what to tell you guys.
Sure you do.
You know what?
Sure you do. Listen, I'm trying to help you. Straight
I know
up.
you're trying to help me. Brian the other day was trying to help me and trying to get me to, I don't know what you were trying to do, get me confessed to something I didn't have no part of, and now you guys are doing it again.
No, Ray. That's listen. There are lies in your whole account of that day. There are lies, And like he just said, we're not going to sit here and share them all with you because it's there. Okay? You are a good guy. I've already said this to you. You know how I feel about you. I've always defended you. I think that you found yourself in a bad spot. Or there's another explanation that could possibly explain this. But you already said that didn't happen. And that is that you found her. And you didn't know what to do about it. And it scared the shit out of you. And you'd never seen anything like that before. So what do? You don't know what to do. That would explain everything.
Do you know anything, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, about the handcuffs?
What about the handcuffs?
I'm asking you.
I own one pair and they got them.
Do they?
Yeah.
Just one pair, huh?
Yeah.
You don't own any other pair?
The only pair I got has Keith Cantrell's name on them.
Really?
Yeah.
Ray, that is a lie.
How would I have two? What do you mean it's a lie?
Ray's a pervert. Ray's a predator. Ray's a cop, and he knows how to do this stuff. And he's been around it enough. Okay, this is what they're going to paint.
We can sit here for hours and hours. I can get fired from my job. But I do not know what happened to her. I did not find her. I did not put her there. I did my job that night. And this is the fucking hell that my family has gone through ever since this has happened. And it looks like I'm continue going through this shit. I know. God knows. I had nothing to do with this.
God does know.
That's right. God does know.
Listen to me when I tell you. I know it was an accident. I know you didn't mean to kill that little girl.
I didn't.
Okay?
Damn.
And I didn't. Listen, dude. I'm telling you. I know that. But in the process, I can know it all day long. But you have to, and I'm not asking you like you keep saying a lie. I'm telling you, our investigation shows you're involved in her death. Now, it was either on purpose or it was accidental. And this is what I'm saying to you. Listen, dude. We can go with it. We can fill in the blanks. We know the details.
I'm not going to admit something I didn't have part of. I'm not going to admit that. You guys can do all your talking, but you know what? I did my job that night. I did not have part of whatever the fuck happened to her. I wish I knew what happened to her because then I guess we wouldn't be having this conversation. This son of a bitch would have been done a long time ago. Guys, I don't know what you want from me. You want a confession that I can't give you.
Well, how come you never went there?
Went to the cemetery.
All this time of saying we're gonna go check. I'm gonna go check. Have you checked? Have you checked? Have you checked? Have you checked? My sister, have you checked countless times? So much so she got tired of fucking hearing it. How come Ray McCann never went?
Yeah, you guys, I've been treated like hell ever since this fucking case started. My family's been treated like shit. I lost my job here at the police department. And it's continued for something that I have no control over. I love being a police officer.
We didn't make the lies up, Ray.
Yeah, I'm not lying. I had nothing to do with this damn case.
We didn't make the inconsistencies. We didn't make them up. You did.
This is bullshit. Nothing against you guys. I respect you totally, okay? And Brian, I respect you. But I had nothing to do with this son of a bitch.
And finally, with the police being certain Raymond was involved somehow, somewhere, in what happened to Jodi Parrack, they arrest and charge him with 5 counts of perjury. They were certain he was lying to them during those interviews. Raymond had said he'd briefly stopped that night to search at a trailhead near a ruin where kids often hung out, and then he was called away. But a detective claimed that surveillance video recorded from a nearby factory showed Raymond was never there, though the video evidence was later discredited. He also made a number of other comments the police deemed suspicious, if not outright lies. The probable cause affidavit stated, McCann's behaviour after the discovery of the victim's body seemed unnatural, and investigators became increasingly suspicious of possible involvement. Furthermore, I am aware that the victim's body contained injuries to both of her wrists, consistent with the application of handcuffs. Given the fact that McCann was a reserve police officer at the time of this incident, he would have access to handcuffs. So basically, Raymond, he was acting weird, after she disappeared. He had that suggestion that, she could be in the graveyard, and she was in the graveyard. What else did I have? Oh yeah, he lied a few times in those interviews we conducted years after Jodi Parrack disappeared. Multiple interviews that were months apart. He said some little squibs in them. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Jodi looked like, she had handcuffed marks around her wrists, and Raymond McCann, he was a reserve police officer, and he had access to handcuffs. Because nobody else can get handcuffs. Not gonna lie, that's a pretty strong case there, lads. That was literally all they had. And Raymond McCann was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Montgomery, an update to the breaking news we first told you about yesterday at midday. The mother of a Constantine girl found dead more than 6 years ago is now talking for the first time since a former reserve police officer's arrest for perjury in the case. Police arrested Raymond McCann last Friday on perjury charges in the death investigation of 11-year-old Jodi Parrack. Police are hoping his arrest will lead to more arrests in this case.
Jodi's mother and the Parrack family joined together at the press conference today. They said they've known each other for years, actually since Jodi's mother was just 16 years old. Jodi was just 11 years old when she disappeared after she was supposed to return home from a friend's house. And today the family is standing together. Jodi's mom says she just found out about 3 years ago. She started to have suspicions about Ray McCann. McCann is the one that police arrested yesterday after charging him with perjury in this case. He's been a suspect, though, since the beginning. And the mom says that, again, about 3 years ago, she started suspecting him after he acted strangely after Jodi's body was found in a local cemetery here. Let's hear what she had to say at the press conference today.
It's kind of bittersweet because, everybody that loves Jodi is glad that the case is moving forward. But most of the McCann family is like family to us. So both families are suffering.
He pled no contest in the case, but maintained he had nothing to do with her death. And the police very much wanted him to be in prison. See, they were full sure he had murdered young Jodi, and they wanted to try and use this to loosen his lips and build a case against him. They're gonna get him, one way or another, while Raymond's in there, sweating it out. Until more time passes, that is. And something happens. See, in 2015, while Raymond McCann was in prison, 10-year-old Mackenzie Stafford was riding her bike in the town of White Pigeon, literally right beside Constantine. And Mackenzie was attacked by an elderly neighbour who lured her into his garage and slashed at her with a knife. She was able to fight him off, kicking and punching him, and escaped the garage. She sprinted the fuck out of there and led the police to 65-year-old granddad Daniel Furlong. And wow, that's still cool, right? The DNA found on Jodi Parrack's body matched old Daniel Furlong.
Last time I had a cigarette was probably August 10th. And I thought, oh God, I forgot all about this. Asked this girl to come over to help me move some stuff. She got off her bike, came up to the house. That's when I grabbed her, took her in the garage, threw her in the back of this boat that was in the garage. She said, "Will you let me go?" I said, "I can't let you go, honey." So I got her out of the boat. By that time it was dark out. Got her in my truck. I thought, now what am I going to do?
Why did you put the bag on her head?
I don't know. I don't even know why. About that time I was panicking. But so I just wanted to get out of there.
Do you know Mr. McCann?
I don't know him. The one that they showed on TV.
You don't know him?
I don't know him. I know the grandpa.
You saw everything in the paper about what was going on with him. What did you think then?
I just thought I was in the clear.
Daniel Furlong was never a person of interest in the Jodi Parrack case. But upon this, break in the case, they began to suspect he might be behind a whole host of, let's just say disturbing activity. See, they found in his garage, written on the wall, a list of girls' names. Girls who lived in the neighborhood and were friends with his grandson. Yeah. Mackenzie was on that list. But Daniel swore, he'd never done something like this before. Jodi, he did confess to Jodi, but he said that was the first one. Come on. Which seems like bullshit. Usually predators like this, they don't start when they're, 60. They've been doing it for a while. And the investigators did not buy that bullshit. This included the disappearance of 6-year-old Brittany Beers, who was last seen playing outside her house in 1997. She lived in Sturgis, Michigan, only 20 minutes away. A witness saw Brittany talking to an unknown man in his car. She was never seen again. Daniel Furlong was sentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison for second-degree murder.
A full courtroom and a mother in the front row, now a few minutes away from what she's waited for 8 years. The man who confessed to killing 11-year-old Jodi Parrack was here to learn his fate. Shackled, skinny, and frail, he looked more like an ailing grandfather than confessed killer. Given the chance to speak before the sentence,
No, Your Honor,
he chose not to. But Jodi Parrack's mother did.
For 8 years, I had to live my life every day, not knowing who killed my baby or why. Jodi is forever gone, and everyone who loves her will never be the same.
And after all this came out, Raymond McCann, hey, totally innocent, right? In the clear? Happy days? No.
6. He's the former state police detective who came out of retirement to solve the shocking murder of little Jodi Parrack.
He retired just weeks after the lead suspect, Ray McCann, was locked up for lying to detectives. But now the veteran investigator says he has no regrets after that suspect ended up being the wrong man.
But no apologies due to Ray McCann then?
No, there's nothing to apologize for. Seriously, he's not in prison for her murder.
Okay.
There's no reason to apologize to him. And I'd be very happy you put that on the news.
See, not quite, because it came out that Raymond McCann may have known Daniel Furlong. Yikes. Definitely not a person Raymond would want to know in his position. Now, during Daniel's interrogation, he said he didn't know Raymond. And Raymond said he never met Daniel. No idea who he is. Who's he? Never heard of him. And there's no evidence they had any kind of a relationship, or knew each other at all. But that didn't stop the police from... The reason it's thought they may have known each other is that they were both coaches in local sports teams around the same time. And remember, Constantine is 7 minutes from White Pigeon, where Daniel Furlong lived. And altogether, the area has a population of less than 4,000 people. Not a big area. And you might think, coaches of teams, they may have some knowledge of each other. Maybe they weren't in cahoots, but what, they never even heard of each other? Raymond was released from prison after serving 20 months, 1 month after Daniel was arrested. He has since rarely set foot back in Constantine. Jodi's mother, knows that Daniel Furlong was responsible for what happened to her daughter. He confessed the entire thing. But she still has her doubts about Raymond McCann. I'm not so sure. I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt he had anything to do with it.
I am at peace now, It's just amazing how much better I feel these charges being reversed.
But he will never forget what he went through, including the 20 months locked up.
It happened so quick.
During his first week in prison in Jackson, he says, other inmates had warned him about what happens to child killers. As far as they knew, that's what he was.
I was yanked off the top bunk, and I believe I was hit with a padlock and split the top of my head open and tried gouging my eyes out, and it was pretty much the scariest moment of my life. I was a hostage, not a prisoner, and that's how I felt.
What is it that they took from you? Obviously 20 months of freedom.
They took a lot from me, At the time I lost my family, lost my job, lost everything I've owned.
You know, I didn't get to see my son graduate. I was arrested on the day that my grandson was born, so I didn't get to see him for 2 years.
His wife divorced him. His son was 12 when this all started. He turned 22 today. McCann has seen him just 3 times since getting out of prison. He didn't expect to see him for his birthday.
But he was so brainwashed that I had something to do with it. No one came to me and told me why. You know, I think they wanted somebody back then, and I just happened to be the guy.
And that's the end of that one. Fascinating case in which the police were laser focused on one person from the very get-go. Sure, you know, he had done something to, you know, he had committed this horrific act. Tunnel vision all the way through. Now, there are some doubts about Raymond McCann. Personally, I don't think he had anything to do with it. It seems pretty obvious they got their man, but I guess you never know. But I doubt it. And, you know, the whole case was cracked because, you know, a 10-year-old girl was able to fight off this old fucker and, you know, heroically made her escape, and they led him to Daniel Furlong. But, man, if that hadn't happened, Raymond could very possibly be sitting in prison even still. I mean, it was from 20 months to 20 years, but the police were probably determined to keep him in prison the entire time. And Daniel Furlong, he had a list of a lot of other, you know, young girls' names, so he may have, you know, if he wasn't caught, could have done a whole lot more sick shit, the sick fuck. Well, he won't be doing much now. Hopefully he's getting stuff done to him. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you as always real soon in the next video. Take care of yourselves. Mike out.